You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Gareth Earle. Gareth has been in bid and proposal management pretty much throughout the whole of his career, with nearly 15 years of experience in managing the submission of winning bids and leading the delivery of projects and programs to achieve customer and business objectives. He made the conscious decision to specialize in the profession 7 years ago. Gareth has been on the other side of the table evaluating proposals and commissioning work for a major technical and social change program on behalf of the BBC. For the last 5 years, Gareth has worked for TP Group, a specialist engineering and consultancy company, where he's developed and implemented TP Group's bidding process and is the bid and project management office function owner across the group globally. Gareth has been a member of APMP since 2015. Ever since joining, Gareth has been a great supporter of the APMP, encouraging other bid professionals to join and pursue certification, as well as attending best practice sharing events. This included Gareth being a speaker of UK's 2017 conference, only his second conference attendance. Gareth holds practitioner certification and was awarded recognition for his influence and achievements in the profession under the 2019 40 Under 40 class. Gareth has been a member of the UK chapter board since April 2018, and having held the positions of membership director, conference director, and vice chair, Gareth is the current UK chapter chair and is member of the APMP chapter liaison committee. Welcome, Gareth, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
So Gareth, we love to start in the beginnings. We're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And where did you go to school?
So I was born in a little town called Stroud in Gloucestershire. Quite interestingly, only found out a few weeks ago that I lived not that far away from Mel Smith, previous APMP UK chair. Literally, I would say about a mile away from each other, sort of thing. So yeah, quite a small town. It's quite a small world as well. I went to school at the local grammar school, Marling School for Boys, in Stroud. Thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and then after then I went to the University of Wales in Swansea, where I stayed there for as long as I possibly could, doing three degrees in the end, doing doing a history degree, then doing a postgraduate certificate in education, where I taught secondary school history, and then I did my master's degree in history again, sort of thing, before I then realised that I needed to actually get a job.
So what was that first job out of university then?
So the first job out of university was actually for a social research company in Swansea, where initially I was an assistant researcher, where I would interview companies and employees of companies over the telephone. But then very quickly, I got promoted into being more of an account manager role, where I specialised in police force research. And I quickly realised that an account manager basically meant that I did absolutely everything, sort of thing. And that was where I had my first taste of bidding, because I realised I had to not only manage the accounts that we had, but also then put together proposals for new work for the business. So yeah, that was within probably about a year to 18 months after joining them. So yeah, that's when it all started.
Oh, wow. And so that was your first taste into proposals. Did your career take a little bit of a different trajectory before you landed where you are now?
Yes, it did. It definitely did. I moved from that company, and I then got involved with the digital switchover of television in the UK, and that's when I was working on behalf of the BBC. But then that's when it was a case of I was actually commissioning work, and so that meant that I had my other hat on, where I would actually evaluate proposals coming into me to deliver work on our behalf on the programme and make decisions. And those decisions actually had to be thoroughly clear as to why I'd made those decisions, because that it was ultimately up to the BBC Trust and then government as to making sure that the money was being spent wisely. So, so yeah, and then at the same time, I would be kind of putting in business cases to the BBC for increased funds and things like that, which in themselves were their own kind of bids and proposals, really.
Right. Oh, very interesting. And then from there, is that how you ended up in the role that you're in now?
Kind of, yeah. There was a slight detour. I was made redundant from that because we'd achieved switching the country to digital television, and after a few months of not being able to find a job, I was lucky enough to find a role at Atkins, where I was a project coordinator. But very quickly, I was supporting accounts in actually writing bids for them, submitting them, and things like that. And I would say within about 6 months, one of the teams within Atkins had realised the benefit that I could do for that, and they pulled me into their team, and that's when I properly specialised in bid management. So that was about 7 years ago now.
Oh, wow. So over the years, I'm sure that you've worked on some very interesting proposals. Do you have any that stand out to you?
I think that the one that always stands out to me is one a few years ago where it was getting towards the end of the bid. The bid was due in on the Monday. It was Thursday. I wanted to get everything printed out and all sorted for the Friday because we had a busy weekend coming up to Christmas, sort of thing. But it didn't go according to plan. My bid got wiped off of my machine for some reason. My laptop crashed. It came back up, and the bid was no longer there. And this was probably about, 7, 8 o'clock at night, sort of thing. And I just looked at it, and I had a hard copy of what had gone through the technical and commercial review, and I had somehow another copy that was of the bid probably about 2 weeks beforehand, and they were obviously quite a bit different. So I just got a cup of tea and I started writing, and I just wrote through the night, and after about a 36-hour non-stop shift, everything was complete, everything was printed out, everything was ready on that Friday night, ready for submission on the Monday morning. I promptly went to bed and said, right, I'm going to go and put Home Alone on. It was nearing Christmas. I'm going to put Home Alone on, watch that, and I don't think I even finished watching the opening credits before I was asleep, sort of thing. But we won it. We won that submission. So it was definitely worth it. But yeah, that one always stands out in my mind. It's always the horror story that I tell.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that sinking feeling when the thing has been wiped. I think so many of us have been there. Maybe not quite at the end like that.
I think it was just one of those things where I looked at it and thought, well, what do I do? I can either, just break down in tears, or just, be a bit pragmatic about it and just say, okay, I can get something, I can do it. And I just started typing. So it was fine. It wasn't too bad. So yeah, I'm sure others would have had worse.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine it going a very different way for some people I know. So before we dig a little bit more into APMP and more into your proposal career, can you tell us 3 things that not many people know about you?
It's really hard doing these days because I, as Pascal will know, I'm quite a bit of a talker. So, yeah, I'm not shy in saying things, but I suppose that there are a few. So, I was a reservist for the Royal Navy. That was a part-time role in the Royal Navy, and as part of that, I was actually deployed as part of the security operation to the London 2012 Olympics. So I spent about 5 weeks up in London, helping out around that and making sure that everything was going smoothly. I was based at Greenwich, where we had the equestrian going on, which was great because I love horses, so it was fantastic.
Absolutely.
But I think at one point in time we had about 3 or 4 royals in the stadium, so it was quite a big security operation.
Yeah.
And also part of being a reservist, I was also a guard officer for the First Sea Lord, so he's the head of the Royal Navy at an event in Cardiff. So that was great. I was an officer in training and in charge of the guard for the absolute head of the Navy. Something that I'd never thought that I would ever get done. So yeah. And then I suppose one of the other things is my daughter is named Marina, after a female Russian fighter pilot from the Second World War. And my son is named Aston after Aston Martin cars, because now that I have 2 children, he is the only Aston that I can afford. So yeah.
What
Oh
a
my
difference.
goodness.
I think, yeah, it's amazing. Eldest has a fighter pilot, youngest has a car. Such a contrast.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Contrast.
Yeah. We've actually got pictures up around the house where we've got the 2 children as babies, and right next to them is kind of like a picture of who they're named after. So Marina has obviously a fighter pilot in all her gear ready to go off into the plane, whereas Aston has a DB-10 next to his head. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love it so much. So we mentioned that you joined APMP around 2015. How did you find out about the organization?
So that was just as I was specialising in Atkins, and having had a project and programme management background and been part of the APM, I thought, well, there must be an equivalent for bid and proposal professionals, and I just looked it up online. Because I wanted to find out more about the career that I was then going to specialise in, and how I could develop my career in there, go on specific training, and I came across the APMP, and that was it. I didn't look back really, yeah, I think the events that are put on across the globe are fantastic. I think each of the chapters obviously have different things that they do for their members, but it's great to be part of an organisation that's now 10,000 plus people strong, for a profession where I think we often get overlooked and not really understood what we do. It's great that we have a global family that we can reach into and learn, develop, and talk to other people about what we do, and they actually understand what we do. My wife still doesn't understand what I do, other than work a lot. She still doesn't quite understand what I do. But yeah, it's fantastic. I think the APMP should be congratulated for what they do for its members.
Oh, for sure. I think everyone listening couldn't agree more. And you've been so involved at the UK chapter level. Can you tell us a little bit about that involvement?
Yeah, that's Amanda Nuttall's fault, I'm afraid. So I met Amanda at the 2017 UK conference. Pete Morris did a session on day 2 that was speed networking. And it was literally 10 minutes talking to someone else that you didn't know about, who you were, what your history was, what your challenges were in bid and proposal profession, and seeing if the other person could, help out, and things like that. And so I was sat on a table, and Amanda came and sat down next to me. At the time, she was UK chair, and we just got talking, obviously through it, and I mentioned, well, now that I found out about APMP, I'd quite like to, get involved. And she just said, you should, think about what you can do. I was presenting at the conference. She said, we're always looking out for volunteers. And I thought about it. And then a few months later, Peter Lobel, who was the membership director at the time, was stepping down from the role. And so it got advertised. And I had the decision, literally, it was a few days before we were going on holiday to America, and I had a decision as to whether to apply for 40 under 40 or to apply for membership director. And my wife said, you're still young enough to go for 40 under 40 next year. Why don't you do membership director this year? So I did. and lo and behold, after a couple of interviews, I got a phone call from John Darby saying, "Yeah, we want you on board." And then it's just come from there really. And I love it. It's, don't get me wrong, it's at times really hard work. Arranging a conference for 400 people is not exactly the easiest things on top of your day job, but I love it. And it's great to see so many faces and the people that we're impacting through what we're doing. It makes it worthwhile. So yeah, I really enjoy my time at APMP, I really do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's such a great organization, and feeling that impact is really rewarding. As the current chair, it's a very difficult time to be in any sort of leadership position with this COVID going on. What are some of the things that you're doing to kind of help the members through this time?
So I think the benefit of what we do as our board is that we're quite flexible, and I think with any organization, any company or anything, you have to be reflective to what's going on. And I think that's quite critical for us to do. Now at the beginning of the year, I brought the whole board together, and we re-looked at our strategy for the next 3 years, so that we could set out what are the key programs that we want to do, and how can we do them and take them forward. And I think we've then obviously reflected on some of that as COVID has gone along. And I think some of the things like the UK online community, the member community that we've brought together, which is great. It's an online platform for the UK members to log into and engage with each other. It's a bit like it's a social media tool really as well. It's a bit like a Facebook sort of thing, where you can share ideas, share news, share all sorts of things. And on there, we've obviously got our events advertised, so that people can also go through that. But the benefit is that they can discuss about the events through that medium as well. We're setting up special interest groups on there, so that people can go into those and discuss a special topic. And we're looking at various ways that we can use that platform and basically bring together the network, so that people can still network without having to be in the same room, and they can still discuss a topic and see what else is going on around the profession. I think it's great. I think it's a great platform, and we're getting some really good feedback from it. And obviously it'll continue, and we'll continue to develop it, but I think it's really, really good. And I think further to that, the UK has reflected, and we're doing our own webinars as well. So as well as international and other chapters doing their webinars, we're doing our own webinars as well, and they've been really successful, and I think that's really good. The other side of things is that we just launched a teaser at the beginning of this week around BidX, which is the kind of like digital festival for bid and proposal professionals sort of thing. And so we'll be launching some more kind of content of what to expect around that. But it's going to be more than webinars. There's going to be a lot more discussion. We're going to have some really key keynote speakers coming in and things like that, so that we kind of really challenge our thoughts about what's going to happen and various elements within the profession, sort of thing. So yeah, we're always busy. So yeah, I think actually with COVID going on, we're probably the busiest that we have been for a while, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, having to adjust and put out those means to keep that networking going and be creative with these, electronic media. I'm sure it's keeping you all very busy, but they sound like very exciting initiatives and very successful. So you guys should all be really proud. So let's talk about your current role a little bit. You are in a role where you've set up kind of a best of best bid and proposal processes and tools.
Yeah, so when I joined TP Group 5 years ago, it was a lot smaller company than it is now. And I went to help set up a new part of the business around consulting. And there wasn't much in terms of a detailed bid process sort of thing. So I literally had a complete blank sheet of paper, and it was great. You know, I was able to bring best practice, but also be cognizant of the bad practice that I'd experienced across the piece, you know, and build something that was not just fit for purpose for TP Group then, but fit for purpose for it as it grew. And now TP Group is probably about 3 times the size of it as it was then, both in terms of number of staff and also annual revenue. And that process still works.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's fit for purpose, whether it's, you know, a £20,000 time and materials person going in to help a customer, or it's a multi-million-pound opportunity. So it was great to be able to have that blank sheet of paper and just develop it. And then in the last just over 12 months, I've employed 2 bid managers in. They're doing excellently, and we're driving some real good benefits for the business. And it means that now my role is slightly different. I do less day-to-day bidding, and I do a lot more kind of like actual function management, which is quite different. And there's a lot more of a leadership role within that sort of thing. So and I enjoy working for TP Group. They're nice. They are nice people, and I think that's the thing. You know, it's a company of nice people, and it makes your job so much easier. And it's always exciting. There's always innovation, and there's a reason why I enjoy working for them, and that's purely and simply probably because of the people.
It sounds like a great organization, and taking on that sort of a role and implementing a process and a successful process at that can have its challenges. What do you think made you successful in your implementation of the process there?
Determination, I think. And you know, I when I came in, I just said, you know, the business needs to have this, and I got the buy-in from the senior management of the team, including the chief executive, Phil Cartmore, who's really supported it and really got behind it and really understood what the benefits to the business are, sort of thing. So I think talking to people and getting their buy-in was really, really critical. And the company, you know, even then, was geographically dispersed. You know, we got sites in Portsmouth and up in Manchester and in Bristol at that point in time. Now we're a lot more global organisation, but at that point in time, we have still have multiple sites. And I just had to go round and, you know, go and speak to people, not shoe leather, but, you know, tire rubber sort of thing, and just go around the country and speak to people. And I think that's what really, really helped. And then as new people have joined us, I've kind of done their introductions to it and made sure they're aware of the process and constantly reviewed it and thought about ways that it may need to be tweaked slightly, sort of thing. But actually, to the main, it works quite well as it is.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing. And I definitely agree, you know, having that stakeholder buy-in is so critical to a successful process. You know, if people aren't going to follow the process or they don't understand it, it's really hard to make a process successful. Absolutely.
If it's not easy to follow, then people won't follow it. It's that simple. So it needs to be tailored. It needs to be right for the different opportunities, different sizes, different complexities, and things like that. And I think, you know, that's the benefit of the process that I've pulled together. And you know, when you have other bid and proposal professionals join your team, look at it and go, yeah, totally get that. That all makes sense. That really, really helps.
Oh, absolutely. And in kind of like your new leadership role, how has COVID affected how you guys are doing business?
Well, there's a lot more, obviously, virtual side of things. So a lot more virtual meetings, a lot more virtual management of bid teams, which I think it's been quite interesting how that works, because I've done virtual bid management for quite some time now, and I would say varying degrees of success from that. But now that everyone is a lot more virtual, I think that virtual bid team side of things works really well, and there's it's that evolvement to using the tools that we have available to us, and actually looking at how we can maximize their use. So things like Microsoft Teams, not just using it as a conference video conferencing facility, but actually using it to manage our opportunities, using it for Word, developing proposals in Word in it, so you can have multiple authors in the same document at the same time and things like that. So certainly it's been a lot more virtual, and I've just with my team, with my two bid managers, I've always had the regularly meeting kind of once a week as to what our focuses and priorities for the week, but then also those times where we just pick up the phone and we have virtual coffee breaks between the three of us, and we just chat and we just discuss things, whether they're career related or not, sort of thing. And that's those kind of over the coffee kind of moments that you would normally have in the office. You still need to have those in that virtual environment, but you just have to be a little bit more forceful with them for them to become kind of like second nature, really. So yeah, it's been interesting and very strange, and juggling that with also homeschooling and childcare and things like that has been interesting. But yeah, it's
for sure. Yeah,
that's the one thing that I would say around what's happened with COVID. I think that one of the things that worked really well is to see how people have adapted and worked together for it, and that that really shows that the people are still out there for each other, and I think that's that's good.
Oh, for sure. And I really love those virtual coffee breaks. I'm gonna steal those and start doing those with my coworkers. So Gareth, you were an APMP 40 under 40 winner, and I'm sure you have some other achievements that helped get you to that award. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your achievements to date?
Well, I suppose APMP 40 under 40 was the first kind of professional recognition in terms of an award for me, and that was really, really important to me, because that was part of the part of my self-realization that I was doing the right thing and that I'm in the right career, because I think other achievements that I have in terms of the various bids that I've helped shape, that we've won, bringing together the process for TP Group, developing a team and things like that. That when I look at them as achievements, I don't always recognize that they're achievements, but absolutely, when we think about it, every bid and proposal manager or professional has input to, that gets submitted, whether you win or lose, is an achievement, because you've brought together a team of people to answer a question, to put together a solution that may not just have an impact on the company that you work for, but have an impact on the customer, that then may have an impact on the whole world in some instances, sort of thing. And so I think yeah, the achievements, we all have day-to-day achievements, and we don't really recognize them as exactly what they are. Some days even getting to to the end of the day can be an achievement. It really can. Or getting to an end of a meeting can be an achievement, sort of thing. But I think I think there's a difference between achievements and recognition.
Mm.
And I think we tend to ignore our achievements, but we always need that recognition. And that's really, I think that's really important to think about. And I think that, you know, the APMP awards program, both at international level and the, you know, the UK, we hold our annual awards. Those are all recognitions that are so important to us, because we are being recognised by our peers in our profession to having had made an impact that has been significant enough that others have identified that and recognised that. So yeah, so I suppose, you know, then other achievements for me, really and truly, you know, already been summed up. My work within APMP UK, within the board, all of those been, you know, achievements for me. And I still sit here kind of like pinching myself thinking, how am I here? 3 years ago, I was getting ready for a conference in that October and starting to plan the presentation that I was giving. And now 3 years later, you know, I'm the chair of that association, and I'm part of such a big organization that's critical to our profession. And yeah, I'm sure, you know, the year will go by and I'll be going, wow, that was fun. What's next? You know, so yeah.
Before we go into our more fun, surprise, rapid fire questions round, I understand that you have done some training over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about those trainings?
So, as I've kind of alluded to, I've you know, been in, I did do a teaching qualification. I always enjoy sharing my knowledge with others, and sharing my experience with others as well. And it's one of the, you know, I think it's so critical, particularly for any industry and any profession, that you need to share amongst each other so that everybody can learn. And it's not just, you know, you get to a certain level, you no longer need to learn. Everybody learns, you know, as you know, as the quote says, you know, the saying says, every day's a school day. You know, every day you can learn something, you know, whether it's a quicker way to you know, proofread or format or something like that, or something about a new technology that, you know, that you're putting into a solution, into a bid. And so I think, you know, I do a lot of internal training with our staff at TP Group on bid process, on bid management, not to make them bid managers, because, you know, that's not what to do, but to give them awareness as to what we do as our within our profession, and why I'm the awkward person in the room asking questions that you think, why is he asking those questions? Well, I'm doing it for a reason. I'm trying to find out what the gaps are in our knowledge, our intelligence, so that we know that's where our gaps are, so that we can go and fill those gaps, so that we get more detail and more intelligence, so that we can then build a solution that is right for the customer, that is right for us, and that differentiates us from competition. And so, you know, it's really, I really enjoy having those training sessions with our internal staff. And it's always nice to hear some of the people who are not bid and proposal professionals come back and go, you know, we do an element of this, and actually, you know, it really does work. And you know, recently had an audit where an independent auditor said that, you know, our bid process was one of the best that he'd come across.
Wow.
Well, that's brilliant. You know, that's fantastic. And actually, to have someone say that in the room who is not a professional bid or proposal manager, say that in front of other people in our when I'm doing the training, means, well, guess what? That's why you're doing it, guys. You know. So yeah, I enjoy training. I enjoy sharing my knowledge and experience, and even if that means that, you know, people in there just learn one extra thing, that's job done. You know, you don't have to take someone from absolute scratch to being an expert for that training to be successful. everybody will learn at different rates and learn different things and things like that. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy sharing my knowledge, and I hope to do more over the coming years around sharing that knowledge with people.
Oh yeah, you can hear the passion in your voice when you talk about teaching and learning. It's really amazing, and I think Basker's going to dig into some more of your passions in this next round here.
Gareth, let's talk about that 3 degrees back to back in Swansea. I mean, like, either you should love Swansea, or you should love somebody who's studying with you in Swansea, or you love learning. What happened there?
Well, I did love Swansea. If I could still live there now and have the job that I do, then I would. But yeah, so Wales was always a draw to me when I was looking at universities, because although I was born and grew up in Gloucestershire in England, my grandfather was born in one of the Welsh valleys, and he actually, him and his family, some of his family back in the mid 1920s walked basically all the way from the Welsh valleys all the way up to Stroud, because they needed employment was needed. The coal mine that the family had been working in was not being as productive as they wanted, so people had to move. And although he then didn't go back to live in Wales, he always said to me as I was growing up, that's where heritage is, that's where your blood is. And so people, anyone who attended the UK conference last year when we had the Rugby World Cup going on at the time, and one of the days we had Wales playing, well, Wales and rugby are my 2 passions. So being able to find a university that A, was in Wales, B, was a big fan of rugby, because you had a rugby, quite a successful rugby club just down the road, and C, literally just across the road from a sandy beach, even though it rained a lot in Swansea, was great. And I just enjoyed the area. I enjoyed my time there. I got to meet so many good friends there, and yeah, it was great. And yeah, after university, I stayed there for a little while. So in all, I probably lived in Swansea for about 9-10 years and loved absolutely every minute of it. And that's where I met my now wife. So it was there for a reason, sort of thing. So yeah.
I know, Gareth. I think you should be Swansea spokesperson. I don't think anybody would kind of share Swansea. I think if anybody from Swansea listening to this podcast, please do. Gareth is available. That's brilliant. So again, you know what, Marina, the fighter pilot Marina, why is that important for you to name your daughter, Gareth? That's pretty intense.
So that's my wife's influence. So
Right.
My wife and I met when I was doing we were both doing the same master's degree in history at the same time. And I specialised in kind of like 16th, 17th century history. And my dissertation for my master's was on Elizabethan espionage and intelligence, which was fantastic. And at the same time, my wife was doing her dissertation on female combatants in the Great Patriotic War, which was the Russian term for the Second World War. And so while she was doing that, she was researching, and she came across Marina Raskova, who was a fighter pilot ace for Russia, and heavily recognised and awarded for her contribution, sort of thing. And as she read more and more about Marina, she always said to me, I really like the name Marina. And as I was, I used to proofread her dissertation, and again, some of the qualities of a bid manager and bid writer was already being worked on there. I I was like, I love this name. I love this name. So when we got married and we talked about having children, we said, well, if we have a daughter, we know that she's going to be called Marina. And then her second name is Elizabeth. So partly after Abby's grandmother, but also partly after Elizabeth I, who, you know, I have such a fondness for that side of history. So yeah. Yeah, it's lovely, but it also means that obviously there's no other Marinas in her class at school, so we don't have to worry about the surname when we're writing her names in clothes and on her lunch boxes and things like that. So yeah,
that's a brilliant story and fascinating history story there. And Elizabeth in espionage, that sounds, any cool stories that you want to share? What happened in the 16th and 17th espionage stories?
So yeah, and actually there's a book behind me that was written by a philosopher, an astronomer at the time called Dr. John Dee. And he was, you know, he used to go around and apparently he used to have conversations with angels. And the book that I've got behind me on my shelf is a kind of like facsimile of that. And he used to go around courts all over Europe, talking to various people, various monarchs, and about astronomy and astrology and all sorts of things. Little did they know that actually he was part of Sir Francis Walsingham's spy network. And so he used to actually write letters back to the Queen about what he'd seen. And he used to sign it 007.
Oh, nice.
The zeros being the eyes, because she used to say that he was her eyes out in Europe, and the 7 because 7 was his lucky number. So there is reason to believe that Dr. John Dee was the original 007.
This is the coolest I've heard in this podcast.
Now, it's history, so it's always open to, you know, various arguments and belief and non-belief sort of thing. But as soon as I discovered that in a book that I was reading, I was like, whoa, as a James Bond fan, that is huge. You know, that is massive sort of thing. But yeah, it was great. I loved doing that dissertation. It was, and if I would been able to, I'd have loved to have taken it further and done like a doctorate on it, sort of thing. But circumstance was saying differently. So, but yeah, that was the moment for my dissertation. Loved that.
Nice. And touching James Bond, who is your favorite James Bond character, and which is your favorite movie?
Oh, I say favorite movie is definitely Goldfinger. Always has been my favorite. I think character-wise is, I don't know, it's quite difficult because to be honest, I really like Hugh. I like the fact that he's always got to come up with new ideas, and yet they always get destroyed, sort of thing. But yeah, I think. Yeah, James Bond has been quite a big part of my life for quite some time now, ever since I saw the original Aston Martin DB5 when I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. And that was it. It got me hooked. And yeah, it's a big part of my life, really. I know that sounds quite sad, but yeah, it's an interest that I really have. And I've always followed. And I'm lucky that my wife loves James Bond as well, and so it, you know, that really helps. I don't feel quite so much of a geek at home when I'm, you know, watching it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's just again, that whole kind of like escapism has been really, really key, so that you can turn on a Bond film, you can pick up a Bond book, and just escape in something in a completely different world. So yeah,
that's beautiful. And you've taken it to the next level of the fascination with Aston Martin cars to name your son Aston. That's was that the justification, or was there some other story behind it?
Well, we had a name for a boy, so that if Marina had been a boy, we would have named her Daniel. And the first thought was when we were pregnant again and expecting again, that we'd say, well, if it was a boy, maybe call him Daniel. And I said, and after a while, I said, well, that automatically means that he's getting hand-me-downs. You know, I used to have hand-me-downs when I was a child. You know, why can't we find a name specifically for him? And, you know, there are various other reasons as to, you know, bits and pieces. And we were actually driving up to Scotland for a holiday, and we were on the motorway, and Aston Martin came and drove past us. And whenever an Aston Martin drives past me, whether it's on the motorway, whether it's, you know, wherever it is, I always wind down the window, because I always love to hear the throatiness of that engine, and that invokes so many thoughts and memories and things like that. And as I did that, I just turned to my wife and I said, what about the name Aston? Joking at that point in time. And she said, I quite like that. Ooh, that's quite nice. And I said, well, yeah, we'd still have to say that they'd be named after the car. She said, well, that's all right. That's not a problem. You know, people name each other, you know, name their children after bottles of wine or pieces of fruit. So why can't you name a child after a car? So yeah, and that's it. And actually, you look at him, and he is an Aston. He, you know, that name suits him. He's always tearing around. He's slight of figure, and he's a little bit cheeky. All of which I think is what you expect from an Aston Martin car. So yeah.
Brilliant. Let's talk about the Culture Club.
Yeah, they're all going to enjoy this when they listen to this podcast. Yeah.
Culture Club, as the name sounds, I hope it's all cultured, but considering it's 4 of your friends, Gareth, I doubt it. Yeah, tell us about now the beginning of the Culture Club and any interesting memories of travel.
Yeah, so the Culture Club, that's there's 4 of us. We all went to university. So it harks back to Swansea. All roads lead to Swansea in my life, I think. So yeah, we knew each other at university to varying degrees, sort of thing. And one of them is he was my best man at my wedding, and he is one of the godparents to Marina. One of the others, he's a godparent to Aston. And a few years ago, we were talking, and we'd said, you know, we'd always like to go on a history trip. Now, we went to university at the time that Band of Brothers, the kind of like mini series around the Second World War, around Easy Company landing in France, and then their campaign all the way through to the end of the war. And we used to watch it back to back, you know, and this was on the days when we used to have it on video, where we used to stretch the videotape because we'd watched it so much. And we decided, okay, let's go to some of the areas that they, that they were, where they fought. And so a few years ago, I organised a trip, and we went out to Belgium. But what we did is we did a bit of a road trip. So we went out and we stopped off at Waterloo, and we saw the battlefield of Waterloo, and did some museum, sightseeing then. Stayed overnight. The next day, we went out to an area called Bastogne, which is part of the Battle of the Bulge, where Easy Company held the line over Christmas and New Year, where it got down to temperatures of -30, and all they had, you know, they didn't have much in terms of heat. You wouldn't put a campfire on because that would demonstrate to the opposition forces as to where you were and things like that. And we went to some of the areas, and you could still see the foxholes that they had dug. They're still preserved. And that was just, so for me, history is all about other people. It's all about the people. And, if you can think about who has been there before you, I get chills going up my spine. So we did that. And then the next day we went to Ypres. So that was more around the First World War. And we went to Vancouver Corner, which is an area in Ypres, which you have a cemetery there, First World War cemetery there, and you have this really harrowing statue that is commemorating the first gas attack on the Canadian forces in Ypres. and back in April 1915, and the mist was just around us at that point in time, and it was just such a moment, and we all had such a great time that we said, okay, what are we going to do next? So last year we went to Krakow, and we went to Auschwitz, and visited some other sites around there. And actually next week we were meant to be going out to Munich and going up to the Eagle's Nest, so the fortress that Hitler had up in Berchtesgaden, but unfortunately because of coronavirus that's been postponed to next year. And it's a great excuse for 4 uni mates to get together, have a laugh, not with our wives, or our partners, and just enjoy each other's company, and just enjoy the culture, enjoy the history, and obviously we enjoy some beers and some good food along the way as well.
Yes, I love the name, the Culture Club. It's really cool. And I think 4 of us get together. I do get together with my friends, but it's normally like a drunk club or something. But for you to have the Culture Club, it's amazing. Great.
Yeah.
And okay, let's officially begin our rapid random fire questions now. What's the dream you have never said out loud?
Ooh. I always say out my dreams, I think. That's the problem. I'd always love to, I've always dreamt to play in rugby for Wales. I don't know what the dream that I've never said out loud would be.
No? Okay. Let's move.
No, no, because all my dreams are, I dreamt of being in the Navy full time. Well, I didn't do that, and I became a reservist. I dreamt to have, an Audi, and I was able to achieve that, and things. So yeah, I can't think of a dream that I've ever thought of that I've never said out loud.
Maybe tonight.
That's interesting, Bhaskar. I'm going to have to think about that now. You got me thinking about that.
Maybe tonight when you sleep, you might get a dream. Let me know tomorrow.
I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll send you an email. I'll let you know.
That's great. Which 80s music pop group would you rate as a perfect 10?
Duran. No problems whatsoever. They are my most absolute favourite band of all time. I've been to see them about 3 or 4 times, and yeah, they are just brilliant. That whole new romantic era was fantastic, but Duran are my absolute favourite band of all time. So and 80s music is just fantastic. I love it. But yeah, Duran, that's it.
So what 80s song do you sing only when you're alone, and what memory does it bring back?
Oh, so I would say it's Rio, which is by Duran. And the memory that actually brings back to me is when I was a small child. Some people may know or may not know that the lead singer of Duran, Simon Le Bon, was involved in a yacht accident in the mid-80s, where his yacht was capsized, and he was with it and needing support. And actually, one of the helicopter crew from the search and rescue team that went out to rescue him lived literally about 5 houses away from me where I grew up. And so now when I listen to Duran, I always think of that chap who was part of that team that went out and rescued him, sort of thing. But yeah, it's just such an amazing song, such an evocative song, sort of thing, that yeah, definitely Rio.
Nice. And what would the world be like if it was filled with male and female copies of you?
Very boring, because they'd all be working all the time, I think. At least that's what my children would probably say. I don't know. I think a little bit, a bit fun. People having a laugh and a joke when the timing is right. They would. I think that the thing that they would have is there would be a very good work hard, play hard mentality. You know, that's what I do a lot of. You know, when I'm working really hard. I'm always working at, you know, 100%. You know, I don't believe in this thing of 110%. You know, I'm always in at 100%. But then when I'm not working, you know, I want to be having a bit of fun, whether that's going somewhere with a culture club, or whether that's being out in the garden with the children, my wife, playing around with a paddling pool, or whether it's playing on my PlayStation with a few friends, or whether it's listening to music or driving the car, or anything, but anything to escape from that day job, so that as my wife says to me, I am a typical Gemini. There are two sides to me. And I think that's where that work hard, play hard mentality would be. So hopefully, if there was a world full of me, that's what would be. I'd hope, anyway.
That's beautiful. Definitely. The person who you are, Gareth, I think the world will be a much better place than it is currently now if it's built of you.
That's a very nice thing to say, Pascal.
I'm just
I'm not
hoping
sure my wife would agree at times, to be fair, but yeah.
Wife will never agree, will we? Wife will never agree. So let's move. So you are planning the most awesome dinner party of your life. Which 3 historical figures, past or present, would you add to your guest list to keep the dinner talk interesting?
Okay, so unsurprisingly, one of them would probably be Sir Francis Walsingham, who was the head of the spy network for Elizabeth I. I think I would also like to talk to Ian Fleming, author of the James Bond novels, but also author of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, to actually ask him about that car. And who else? Actually, I'd quite like to have Margaret Thatcher there, because I think she'd be really, really interesting to talk to find out about, you know, what was going through her head when she invoked some of the policy decisions that she did, and what was, you know, how did she feel when she had to send in the whole fleet down to the Falklands? You know, what was going on, you know, what did she feel, and things like that. So I think, yeah, those 3, Sir Francis Walsingham, Margaret Thatcher, and Ian Fleming. I quite like that. Yeah.
So where is one place you would like to go that you haven't been?
New Zealand. New Zealand. I'd like to go to New Zealand, and I'd like to go in a few years' time when the British and Irish Lions go out to play rugby there against the New Zealand All Blacks. I'd like to see what the culture's like out there. I'd like to experience that, and I would like to see and experience 2 amazing, passionate rugby teams come together on the pitch together at the same time. I think that would be brilliant. So yeah, that is the goal. That is the dream. But unfortunately, I do say it a lot. So yeah, it's not the one that I've never said out loud.
Yes. I think it's a formal request from APMP UK chair to APMP ANZ board. Please do have your next APMP conference in New Zealand.
yeah, I'll give Felix a ring and see if he can do that. Yeah.
That's it. That's brilliant. And what movie can you watch over and over without ever getting tired of?
There are so many. Obviously Goldfinger, but I'm not going to use that one because that's my favourite Bond film. But I would say, other than that, I would say Casablanca is one of my ultimate favourite films. I do like watching black and white films. I like the old style of movie making. That's not all CGI. You know, that's just pure in the sense that it's not fake in terms of made up. What you see is what you get. Okay, the characters made up and things like that, but what you see is what you get. So I would watch Casablanca time and time again, and still enjoy it.
Got you. What is something that is popular now that really annoys you?
Something popular. Okay, yeah. I suppose for me, it's Facebook. So I am on Facebook. You know, I do see its purposes, but I hate the Facebook culture that we're in now. Where when Facebook first came out, it was about you know, sharing updates and you know, that virtual kind of networking and virtual social side of things. And I get the impression now with Facebook that it's more about, look what I've done, and that always trying to get one-upmanship sort of thing. And that type of Facebook I don't like. I like Facebook as a platform, but I don't like that part of Facebook, that kind of mentality of using Facebook, because I think then people then get the thought that, well, okay, well, I haven't done enough, or I haven't done that, or maybe I should be doing better, or maybe my children should be doing better, or something like that. I just think, you know, we don't need that in our lives. You know, we really just don't need that in our lives.
That's pretty well said. So what's the most expensive thing that you have broken?
Oh. I don't know. I suppose, no. I didn't really break it. The most expensive thing that's probably broken in our house was my wife's engagement ring when she got it trapped in a door. And we've since replaced it, sort of thing. But I'm quite careful and quite risk averse, to be perfectly honest. So, you know, even when I'm doing DIY, I'm moving absolutely everything out of the way before I even do it, sort of thing. So yeah, touch wood, I don't break a lot.
That's great. So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
Ooh, there's actually quite a few, to be perfectly honest. I think that if I think that it goes back to one single point, then it would go back to one of my primary school teachers. And she was brilliant. She was absolutely brilliant. Her name was Mrs. Rosser. And I said that I wanted to go to Marling School, that I wanted to go there. I wanted to do secondary school there. And she just sat me down and she said, well, you know, there's an entrance exam to get in there, and you're going to have to do some work to do that. You're going to have to do some work outside of school. And so I did a lot of extra work around verbal and non-verbal reasoning outside of school to prepare. And I did a lot of, you know, work with her to do that. And I passed the exam. And I think everything since then, you know, being at Marling, doing my GCSEs, doing my A levels, then going on to Swansea and everything, all leads back to that one single point of decision making an influence from there. And you know, since then, I've had some amazing people influence my life. From, you know, Peter Daly, who used to be my boss when I was working on the UK community engagement program for the digital switchover. There's Dave Bucknell, who encouraged me to specialise in bid management at Atkins. You know, he was also my commanding officer at the reserves. And he's influenced my life hugely. Tim Wardrop, who, again, a colleague at Atkins, who kind of, you know, got me to go across to TP Group as he moved across, sort of thing. And then I think, you know, in terms of APMP, you know, as I've said before, you know, John Darby has influenced me hugely in that sort of thing. And then from a day-to-day basis, my wife, Abby, she's amazing. How she puts up with me and how she continues to support me, I will never know. You know, it has to be love, because I'm not the easiest people to live with, and yet she's there for me every single day. You know, whether I'm with her or not, I can pick up the phone to her and she's always there for me and always says the right thing. So there have been a lot, but I suppose that one single person, if you were to link it back to everything, I would say it's going back to Mrs. Rosser when I was at school.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's amazing how you had pretty much the key people. You have touched family, you have touched colleagues, you have touched your teachers. That's brilliant. So what's one trait that you really like about yourself?
That I'm honest and I'm trustworthy. If people ask my opinion on something, I'll give it, whether they agree to that opinion or not. I'm not shy of coming forward. I will always give my opinion. But then people can trust me in things. If they want me to do things, if they want me to be there, if they want me to take care of something, then I'm there. And those, I think, honesty and trust are critical. And for me, I have a lot of pride in that, and that's something that I try to instill into my children, that whatever happens, so long as you're honest with yourself and honest with other people, and that you can trust yourself and be trusted, then actually, you know what, you'll go far, and you'll have the right people around you in your life as well.
That's it. So the last question from me, what have you observed lately during this COVID crisis that reminded you that people are kind?
I do think it's the human side. They're coming out and supporting each other, whether that's in your day-to-day business, and a lot more picking up the phone, and no longer are we picking up the phone going, where's this, where's that? It's always, how you doing, how you getting on, things like that, which is really good. And just that community side of things, and people coming together, people doing things that they wouldn't normally have done. There's a group of parents that we all get together. Our children are in the same class at school, and we get together on a Saturday night virtually on Skype, and we have an amazing quiz. We take it in turns as to who's doing the quiz, and we chat and we talk and have a good laugh, sort of thing. I don't think that sort of thing wouldn't have happened without COVID. And I think it's actually quite ironically, given the fact of social distancing, it's brought people closer together.
So true, Gareth. I think it's been an amazing conversation, Gareth. So a few more questions from Ashley.
Yeah, I agree, Gareth. It's been amazing learning about your career and learning more about you and your beautiful children and the inspirations behind their names. You've had, such an exciting career so far. What's one thing that you wish you had known, though, when you started out and began that career?
The bid management was an actual thing, that it was a career that I could go into. Because if I think back to all of the skills that I've developed at university and things like that I use every single day, I wish when I was going to university or coming out of university that this was a profession that I could go into. And I think that's one challenge that absolutely every one of us has in terms of what comes next. We need to think about the tomorrow, and the tomorrow doesn't just begin, when people join us because they just land into proposal management. Mm-hmm. It's at university, it's at school, that this profession is out there. Wouldn't it be nice that at school, when you ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up, it's not just teacher, doctor, firefighter, vet, nurse, that it's I want to be a proposal writer, I want to be a proposal graphics contributor, I want to be a proposal manager. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, it's so funny. No one knows what it is, right, until you're in the profession. So educating, the generations that are going to grow up and be proposal professionals could go such a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And over the years, you mentioned all these great influences on your life, and I'm sure they've given you some great advice. What's the best piece of advice you've received, and who gave that to you?
Remember who you are at heart and what is important to you. And that's what my grandmother and grandfather used to say to me.
It's beautiful.
I miss them dearly, and I live by that every single day. It's important to know who we are, because that then means that we know where we want to go to, and what we want to do with our lives. And we need to remember what's important to us, because if it's not important to us, it's not going to be important to anyone else. So yeah.
So well said. So we talked about everything you've achieved today. What's next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, next is I need to get my APMP professional certification done, and Pippa Birch would say exactly the same, as she's my mentor, helping me with that, and always saying to me, "Have you done anything on it?" "No, Pippa, I haven't." "Well, why not, Gareth?" So that's next sort of thing. And I don't know, I just in life, I think it's just I don't know, it's just continuing to react and continuing to think as to what's next. What next do I want to do that I think I will enjoy, that will help others, that will be beneficial to people. And I think, part of that can be, I don't know, I'll get to the end of my tenure as APMP UK chair at the end of this year, and I'll think, okay, so, what's next? Where do I go from here, sort of thing. And I'll still want, I'll still be involved with the chapter for a while, because I'll be there as the past chair, sort of thing. But then it's a case of, encouraging others to get involved in that, because it's it's a different side of our profession that I think if people can just spare a little bit of time, it's worth it. It really is, because you learn so much, you make so many connections that that you just normally wouldn't have done. Our association is more than just, being on the receive. It should be on the giving as well. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. And it's such a rewarding experience to be a part of that board and contribute and really give back.
Yes. So Gareth, is there any part of your life or career that we haven't touched, or is there anything else that you would like to say to our APMP community?
I don't think so, Bhaskar. I mean, obviously, touched quite a few parts of my life today. Realised that I don't have any dreams that I don't say out loud, which is quite interesting. All I would say to our community is just keep talking to each other, and keep being there for each other as well. People around us don't know what we do, so let's make sure that we talk to the people who do know what we do, and then that way we can spread the awareness wider and deeper, and get to a point maybe in, 15, 20 years time, when we have children at primary school saying, "I want to be a proposal manager," then that would be great.
That's brilliant. And good luck with all the initiatives that you're doing, as well, and the new launch with the online community and other things as well, Gareth. And wish you again, it's been a real privilege for us to have you with us at Scribble Talk. Please do continue to inspire everybody around you, family, friends, your culture club members, history, Swansea, you name it. And wish you all the good health, happiness, stay healthy, stay happy, stay kind. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhaskar, and thank you, Ashley. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both this afternoon.
Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode, where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.